We're up to um Eitive Ravina Rav Ashi on the right side, 41A1. Ravina answered Rav Ashi the following question. Rav Ashi, explained we brought a machloket in the Gemara earlier on 40 B on Mem on a bet. We had a machloket regarding Shemitah. Can you go ahead and redeem Shemitah onto money? Shemitah produce. If I have an etrog, can I go ahead and I say I want the holiness of the etrog to go onto the money? We know if you sell Shemitah produce, the given that we had was that if you sell Shemitah produce, the Shemitah produce that you sell will always remain holy, and the money will also get the holiness of the Shemitah produce. But then, if you take that money and you buy something else with it, then the item that you buy with it will have the holiness of the Shemitah, and the money will no longer be holy. That's what we said last time. But the question is, for the Shemitah produce, for the holiness to be transferred to the next item, is it only if I sell the Shemitah produce, then the holiness will transfer to the next item? Or even if I would, like, so to speak, one of Mr. Haber, redeem the Shemitah produce. If I go ahead and I say I want the value of the Shemitah produce to go on some money, would the money also receive the sanctity of the Shemitah produce by me merely saying I want the sanctity of the Shemitah produce of this etrog to go onto money? So we brought a machloket between two rabbis. One rabbi says Rabbi Yochanan says you could transfer the holiness whether it's through sale, the holiness will go onto the money, or whether it's redeeming it onto coins, the holiness will go onto money. And Rabbi Elazar said no. Rabbi Elazar says the only way the Shemitah produce can go onto this next item is only if you actually sell the Shemitah produce. If you say I want the sanctity of the Shemitah produce to go onto this money, just in my personal home, so to speak, I didn't sell it to someone, the sanctity will not be transferred. That's what we said last time. Then we had Rav Ashi. Rav Ashi said that this argument is only regarding the Shemitah produce itself. The Shemitah produce itself, whether you could transfer the holiness by just merely saying I want it to go onto the money. But if it's the money that was received from the Shemitah produce, everybody holds you could transfer that money, the holiness, whether you go ahead and you sell that money, buy something with that money, or you go ahead and you actually say, I want the holiness of this money to go onto an animal. It will work. The only question, it will be transferred. The only question is, would the holiness could I transfer holiness onto money using the Shemitah produce? But if it's already something that was received from the Shemitah produce, then everybody holds I could go ahead and transfer that money. I could take that sanctity of the Shemitah, the sanctity of the money that was sanctified as a result of what I sold, let's say, Shemitah produce. So that everybody would hold. There won't be any argument. So there's something called I could transfer. I have the ability to transfer it. Even what? And let's say the Gemara spoke about it. Maybe there's a machloka. Does it have the animal to be dead or not dead? There's two different opinions. One opinion says, and the Gemara says, if it's a female animal, everybody holds you cannot go ahead and. But if it's a dead male animal, there's an argument. But there's something called pre-rishon, something called pre-sheni. Pre-rishon is the first, sheni is the second. So the Gemara is saying that the whole argument, if you transfer the holiness through a way of redemption, like say I want to transfer without a sale, it's only on the pre-rishon, on the produce of the Shemitah itself. But if it's not the produce of the Shemitah itself, if it's the money that was received from the produce of Shemitah, everybody holds you could redeem it onto some value without going ahead and making a sale. That's what the Gemara is. That's how we ended last time. Now the Gemara is going to challenge this point. Eitive Ravina Ravashi. And Ravashi is gonna, and the Gemara is gonna change too. Eitive Ravina Ravashi. Mi sheyish lo sela shashviyat. You have a sela from Shemitah. What does it mean you have a coin of Shemitah? So let's say this coin, you sold produce. And as a result of selling produce, now the coin has the sanctity of Shemitah. Okay? That everybody agrees. There's no question how this coin became holy. Ubike, what do you say? And the food, right? The food that was exchanged for this money will always remain holy if it grew during Shemitah year. Ubike shlikach lo chaluk, but he wants to buy a shirt with the Shemitah money. Is there a legal way he could get around the system in a halachic way, which is not in any violation of Shemitah? I have $1, I have a coin. This coin is a Shemitah coin, and I want to buy a shirt with the Shemitah coin. This is a $20 gold coin from 1935. So I want to go ahead and I want to buy a shirt with this coin, but it's holy. This money, I'll buy the shirt and I want to wear the shirt. How can I take this? Now, the law is I can't use Shemitah money. I want the value of the coin to somehow to be transferred to be able to buy a shirt. Now, the rule is I can't use Shemitah money to buy clothing. I can use Shemitah money to buy produce, to buy oil, but I can't use it to buy something which would remain after the Shemitah year. A shirt remains; it has a shelf life. The Shemitah produce has to be eaten during the year. The specific time period has to be eaten so that I can eat food. I can't use money to buy a shirt. So how do I get around? How do I do that? So the Gemara says there's a legal way to do it. So Mishesh lo sell because he needs a shirt for Yom Tov. Yom Tov is coming. He wants to get a nice shirt to the honor of Yom Tov, and he doesn't have other money to use to buy a nice shirt in honor of Yom Tov. So here's the way he does it. Kesed Yasser. What's the way he could do it? Let him go to a storekeeper. Let's say he has the local shop. We're in a little town here, and the local shop. I have my storekeeper. I have a rapport. I have a relationship with this storekeeper. The Omalo, and good morning. And you tell the storekeeper, Tainli Bisela Peyrot. You tell the storekeeper, I want to buy $1 worth of Peyrot. I want to go ahead and buy $20 worth of fruit. Fruit? Yeah, I want to buy $20 worth of fruit. And you know what happened? Notin lo. And he sells him the fruit. So what's the law now? The law is the fruit now becomes holy, because it was bought in exchange for Shemitah money. But the Shemitah money no longer is holy, because we said the only thing that the original fruit remains money, and item number 2 that was exchanged for Shemitah produce has the sanctity of the Shemitah produce. But once I took item number 2 that was used in exchange for Shemitah produce and I bought an item number 3, item number 3 becomes holy, but item number 2 no longer becomes holy. So what I did was, I now made the money not holy. To hear Ralph, you didn't get that. Yeah. So the story goes, he wants to buy a shirt. So how does he go and buy? But he has Shemitah money. Shemitah money, you can't buy a shirt, right, Max? You can't buy a shirt with that Shemitah money. So
it just has to be used within a year. It has to be used within.
Yeah, but even if it's used within a year, I can't. But as long as I can't buy the shirt. So now what do? So I go like this. I take the Shemitah money. Now we say the Shemitah money, because it was received as in exchange for Shemitah produce, is holy. But if I buy something with the Shemitah money, the item I buy with the Shemitah money, that item becomes holy. The holiness of the Shemitah money is transferred to that item, but the money is no longer holy anymore. You could remove the sanctity of it. What's that? Right. Oh, very good. Now, so Ralph, this is Rabbi. What does it help you? You still don't have what you still don't have. What do you got? I got Shemitah produce, and now I got produce which has the sanctity of Shemitah. So what did I get? So now I go back, but I bought it from my friend. And I tell my friend, I mean, you know, I tell my friend, I'm going to give you back. I'm going to give you these fruits as a gift. The fruits that you just sold to me, I gave you $20. You gave me fruit. Now you got the $20. The $20 is not holy anymore. The fruit is holy. I'm going to give you the fruit. You're going to deal with it like holiness of Shemitah. And then the storekeeper gives me back my $20. And now I got and he gifts me. He gifts it to me. So now he gives me a gift. I gifted him the fruit. Originally, I bought the fruit originally. Right. But the fruit was originally bought from the storekeeper with my money of Shemitah. So therefore the fruit became the sanctity of the money was transferred to fruit. But the money is no longer holy. Because once I bought fruit with the money, the storekeeper has money, and that money is not holy. Now I give the storekeeper back the fruit that he sold to me, and therefore, but it's still Shemitah, has the sanctity of Shemitah, but he gives me a gift of the money. That money is no longer holy, and therefore I can go ahead and use the money to buy the shirts. Right? He just, but so now, because the key to this deal is removing the sanctity of the money of the Shemitah that's on the money through buying fruit. The fruit gets the sanctity. The money is no longer sanctified. And now that I made it, now I gifted him the fruit. He gifted me the money back. So now I can go ahead and buy the shirt. Okay. Yes.
So I understand the technicality and this like loophole to transfer the sanctity off of the coin onto the Shemitah produce. But like, I guess, do you have to physically make the transfer, or can you just say, I have an agreement with the shopkeeper down the street so that he knows that if I want to purchase things, you have to like do the physically switch, or is it verbal, like, oh, this is what I have?
You have to, you have to physically make the move. You got to physically make the kinyan. That means if I have the money is holy. The only way the money loses its sanctity, and this Braita says, how does it lose sanctity? By me buying the fruit. Now, why did I have to go ahead and buy the fruit? Why couldn't I just make a simple thing? To take the sanctity of the money and place it on other fruit that I have in my house that's not Shemitah produce. Let's take the sanctity. Why do I have to go buy fruit? So the Gemara wants to say, now the fruit has the sanctity of Shemitah, but the money no longer has the sanctity of Shemitah because once I bought it. Now, if he doesn't give me back the money, the storekeeper has the money. I can't buy a shirt. I have the fruit, and the fruit has the sanctity of Shemitah. But if I give him a gift of the fruit, he'll be happy to give me the money as a gift. That's what the Gemara says. Teli v'selam peiros and no lo, and the storekeeper gives him the fruit. I'm giving you the fruit as a gift. And Omalo, the storekeeper says, tell us, I'm giving you the gift. Matana. So then the original guy could buy whatever he wants because that money that 5 minutes ago, this money was sanctified as Shemitah. Now that money is no longer Shemitah money, and now you can go ahead and buy the shirt. But what do we see clearly from all these cases? The only way he went ahead and that money, in order for him to remove the sanctity of the money, he had to go ahead and buy the fruit. The Gemara said, the money was a secondary fruit. It wasn't the original fruit of Shemitah, right? We said there's something called pre-rishon and pre-sheni. Pre-rishon is what? Is the Shemitah produce itself. Number one. The number one thing, the first, is the Shemitah produce. Pre-sheni is what the money that was given as exchange for the Shemitah produce. It's pre-sheni. And here, we're dealing with the money of Shemitah, which is already pre-sheni. It's not the original Shemitah produce. And yet, what do we say? The way to get the sanctity off this money is only through what? Through a sale. You could have said a much easier way. Take the sanctity of the money. I want to place it on fruit that's in my house. That's not Shemitah produce. I want to place the sanctity of the money on it. The fact that the Braita did not give us that option, which would have been a much simpler option, shows you that this bright the holds, you cannot remove the sanctity of the money through just saying, I want the sanctity of the money to go on to fruits that are in my house. You also need a sale. So this bright is saying, so it's clear that's not like what Rav Ashi said. Rav Ashi said that everybody would agree, they're a chilul, just like redeeming it. If it's a secondary money, you could redeem it without any sale. You could just say, I want in my private home, I want the sanctity of the Shemitah of the money that was received for Shemitah produce to go into the fruits of my house. I don't have to buy something with it or to remove the sanctity. And this brighter seems to say, yeah, I must buy it. You have to do it in the way of buying and selling, wheeling and dealing. So we see from here that it's not true that everybody agrees that you can remove the sanctity on pre-sheni, on the money through just redeeming it. Is that clear, everybody? The holy money you have in your pocket, remove the sanctity of the. If you buy fruit with that money, and the money is no longer holy, but the if you want to use money to buy a shirt now, so you bought fruit with that money. The fruit is holy. You would but he has the storekeeper has the money. If you gift him the fruit, he'll most probably gift you the money, and then you'll have the money to do whatever you want with. Exactly. Right. Exactly. And maybe the storekeeper will be happy to do it. Help me out. People are buying fruits for eating purposes, so they'll eat it with the sanctity of Shemitah like other things that they eat during Shemitah. So it's not a big deal for the storekeeper. It's not not a lot of sweat off his back, as they say. Now, so the Gemara says, so we see that this Braita holds that the only way to remove the sanctity of the money, which is pre-sheni, is only through buying or selling. So the Gemara said, Elam Rav Ashi now different than what he changes his mind. What does Rav Ashi say? The following: Machloket, the argument between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yochanan of removing the sanctity of something related to Shemitah through. Do you have to go ahead and do it through a sale, or even could you remove the sanctity like in a way of redemption by saying, I want the sanctity of the item to go onto the money that's in my house? It's only b'pri-sheni. It's only by the secondary item, meaning the money that was received for Shemitah produce. If I want to remove that sanctity of that money, or produce that was received in exchange for Shemitah produce, that if it's pre-sheni, if it's not the original produce of Shemitah, it's what the money that was received, let's say, the value that was received for Shemitah produce, there's an argument whether I could take this fruit and place this money, let me use the coin that's in my hand, this money that was received for Shemitah produce, can I just say, I want the sanctity of this money that was received for Shemitah produce to go onto fruit that's in my house? So there's an argument. Some say if I want to remove this, in order for only way I could go ahead and the sanctity of the Shemitah money to go onto something else, I have to buy something with it. Only through some sort of transfer sale. But I'm saying that if I go ahead and I buy something I buy fruit with this coin, now the fruit will become holy. But if I go ahead and I say I want the value of this coin to go onto other coins that are in my pocket, I can't, or I want this value of the coin to go onto fruit that's in my home, it doesn't work. The sanctity of the Shemitah produce will not go, that's on the coin, will not go onto the fruit that's in my house. I have to actually make a deal. That's one opinion. And the other opinion says, no, I could do it. I could affect the holiness can be affected from just merely saying the value of the money should go onto the fruit. So that the Gemara says there is an argument. One says I have the ability to move the sanctity of the money to fruit without actually buying fruit. That's one opinion. I could just go ahead, and that's opinion of Rabbi Yochanan, and it seems that that should be the halacha, that I can have the ability to say that the money goes on to the what? Right, and it's just like, and by the way, and this will come out that this is like the general redemption of hekdesh. When you redeem something that belongs to hekdesh, we call it when you mechalel, chilu. If this item belongs to hekdesh, I redeem it onto something, then that item is no longer hekdesh. There's no sanctity anymore to the item once I redeem it. The money becomes holy, but the hekdesh does no longer holy. So too, that's what's going to come out according to this Gemara, that I have the ability, if we're talking about the secondary item, the money that was received for Shemitah produce, I could remove the holiness totally from this money through going ahead and saying, I want the value of this money to go on to other money. I want this money to go on to fruit. The fruit becomes holy and the money is no longer holy, no restrictions, just like the redemption of Hegdish. So now the language of Chilul will fit in very good now according to the end of the Gemara. However, although the pre-Rishon, the original fruit of Shemitah, the etrog that grew during the Shemitah year, there's no argument. Divrei Hakol, derech mekech in, ein derech chilulo. Only if it's done through a sale. Meaning to say, if I have Shemitah produce, like the Gemara brought a hekish, the Torah connects Yovel with sale. So that means, which the Gemara wanted to say, that that's the reason why, in order for you to transfer the holiness of Shemitah, Yovel and Shemitah have the same laws, the sanctity of the items. The only way you could transfer the sanctity is through what? Through a sale. The Torah says Yovel and Chisimkra, and then you sold something. That's how you can transfer the sanctity. But if you merely want to say that the sanctity of this Shemitah, this etrog, should go on to money, it will not do it. Only if you buy something with this, if you take the Shemitah produce and you sell it to somebody, then that money will become sanctified, and the Shemitah produce will remain sanctified. So that exactly, that's what Rabbi Yochanan holds. Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Elazar says, not only the pre-rishon you have to go ahead and sell in order to remove, the sanctity to be placed on the other item, and the Shemitah produce remains holy. Even the secondary item, in order for it to transfer holiness to something else, the secondary item also has to be sold. That's Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yochanan says no, and Allah Rabbi Yochanan, you don't need it to sell it. You don't need to sell it, and that seems to be the halacha. You could just go ahead and say, I want to transfer it. I want to transfer onto it without a sale. Is that clear, Max?
So you can just verbally say.
It's like a verbal declaration. But that verbal declaration only works with the money that was received from Shemitah produce. But the Shemitah, according to Rabbi Yochanan, but the Shemitah produce itself, you never could just by declaration, you will not create holiness on the second item. Declaration is not enough by Shemitah produce. You have to go ahead and what? Make it what? A sale. If that holiness will be transferred to the second item. Now, so the Gemara said, "V'hadiktani," but that which we learned, "Echad shviyit ve'echad ma'aseh sheni mitzchalalin." It says, you're telling me that everybody holds that the pre-rishon, the Shemitah produce, the only way the sanctity could go on to something else is only through sale. But we learned in the Braita on bed, we learned echad shviyit ve'echad ma'aseh sheni mitchalalin. We said you could go ahead and you could mechalel, which was declaration, so with the Shemitah produce. So, and you're telling me now Shemitah declaration doesn't help on Shemitah produce. Then when it says declaration helps, that's not referring to the original Shemitah produce. It's referring to the secondary. When you say by Shemitah, declaration does the trick, not referring to the original Shemitah produce, because that everybody will agree declaration will not be enough. So when it says declaration will be enough, that's Braita is in sync, in agreement with Rabbi Yochanan, that you could just merely do it by declaration. But what does that refer to? My shvi'it, dmei shvi'it. It's referring to the value of Shemitah. Dmei is like damim, money. It's called damim, it's called money, it's called blood, like damim. But people give they give the sweat and they endanger their life sometimes when they go for parnasah. That which the brightest states, you could transfer the holiness through declaration, and yet the Shemitah pros always remain holiness. But declaration is enough. That's talking. We're talking about not the Shemitah produce, talking about the money of Shemitah produce, it can be transferred to holiness through a declaration, but not the Shemitah produce itself. Shemitah produce itself, you must have a sale of some sort, an exchange. It can't be just declaration. And the Gemara has a great proof to this point. The ilo temahachi, because if you don't say that, this bright dimension, Shmit echad shvi'it, echad ma'aseh sheni. It says it's talking about Shemitah and ma'aseh sheni. Now, by the way, we turned the page. We're on 41A2 now. We spoke. Good morning. The next minyan is going to be upstairs at 7:30. No problem. Now, if you want to redeem ma'aseh sheni, we spoke about ma'aseh sheni. Ma'aseh sheni is that there's a 7-year cycle, 7th year of Shemitah, but the 1st and 2nd year and the 4th and 5th year, 10% of your produce goes to Yerushalayim, and you eat in Yerushalayim. That's called Ma'aseh Sheni. First, you take off Truma, you give the average guy gave 2% to the Kohen, Truma. Then you take 10% from what's left, you give to Mr. Batesh, the Levi. And then 10% what's left, and then what's left, the 10% of what's left, take 10% of what's left, and you bring to Jerusalem. That's called Ma'aseh Sheni. Sheni, it's the second type. Rishon, number 1 was Mr. Batesh to the Levi. That's Ma'aseh Rishon. You'll get there. When Mashiach comes, you'll be receiving a lot. You have a lot of friends. The more friends you have, the more likely you're going to receive Ma'aseh Rishon. Because it's up to the people who they want to, they have the right to give it to who they want to give it to. It's a pace to be a nice guy, right? It's a benefit. Not that people should be a nice guy because they're just looking good morning to get something on the deal. To be a nice guy because you're supposed to be a nice guy. That's why you're supposed to be a nice guy, whether you'll get paid for it or not. So, right, Mr. Haver? Now, so the Ma'aseh Sheni, if I have Ma'aseh Sheni fruit and I want to redeem it, but it's too heavy for me to carry to Jerusalem. I live in Bnei Brak. It's too hard for me to carry to Jerusalem. I can redeem it onto coins. The Torah says you redeem onto coins, and then we have to also add a fifth, and then you bring the coins to Jerusalem, and you buy the food or certain things you buy in Jerusalem. But I can't redeem the Ma'aseh Sheni onto things that are not coins. The only way I could redeem it is onto coins. Again, is that clear? Redemption of Ma'aseh Sheni is done to redeem. The Torah says, "V'sarta kesef b'yadecha." The Torah was very specific of how you go ahead and you redeem the Ma'aseh Sheni produce. There's one way, and there's one way only to redeem it. What's the way? Onto coins. Now, this Breita says you redeemed it onto an animal, whether alive or dead, whatever. But you redeemed it onto an animal. How could you redeem it onto an animal? It's not a coin. The answer is because it's not. We're not talking about the original Ma'aseh Sheni. We're talking about the Ma'aseh Sheni coins. The item that was received for the Ma'aseh, the Ma'aseh Sheni was redeemed. Let's see how the Gemara says. What are we referring to? Right, we're talking about the Ma'aseh Sheni coins. Now you could go ahead and take the Ma'aseh Sheni coins and move it on to to an animal. So therefore that's the coin. So the coins are not the original produce. So therefore we see. So when this Breita says you have the ability to move this, since the Breita is talking about the coins when it's by Ma'aseh Sheni, so by Shemitah it's also talking about the coin. And therefore, it's meaning the same way it's not talking about the pre-Rishon. It's not talking about the original. It's not talking about the original produce when it's talking about Ma'aser Shein. It's talking about the coins. So when it's talking about Shemitah, that you do use declaration, it's also not talking about the original produce. It's talking about the what? The coins. So therefore, we see that the coins, the secondary, the pre-Sheni, you can use declaration for pre-Sheni, but we're not talking about pre-Rishon. Pre-Rishon declaration wouldn't help. Yes. So when you Ma'aser Sheni, what you generally do is you redeem it onto the coins, and you bring the coins to Jerusalem, and you go ahead and here what he did was, what did you say? That you have your own coins, You have your own coins. You have $1,000 worth of Ma'aser Sheni produce. So once you redeem it onto the coins, the produce is not holy anymore. You could use the produce. You're not meaning, because the law is Ma'aser Sheni that you have to eat it in Jerusalem. The produce that's Ma'aser Sheni is, but I have to eat in Jerusalem, but it costs me to carry it to Jerusalem. Right, I got to take the coins and I buy food in Jerusalem, and I eat the food in Jerusalem with the value of the coins that I bought. Now, so that's what the Gemara is going to say over here. When the Breita says I could go ahead and make a declaration, it's referring to using the value, the coins of Ma'aser Sheni, or the coins of the Shemitah produce onto the other item. But we're not referring to the original item itself. The Gemara says, now let's look at the language in the Gemara on 41a2 on the right side. You got it? Okay. They want to see you, Mr. Bitesh. What can I tell you? The Ilote Mahachi, if you don't say that, Maise, if you don't say that, Maise Mamish, does it, could you say Maise, when it says Maise, means Maise Mamish? Could it be referring to the actual produce itself? Could it be referring to the actual produce itself? You have to go ahead and tie the money in your hand, meaning to say the only way to redeem the produce of Ma'aser Sheni, it has to be onto coins. Ella, so when the Breita stated that you're going ahead and you're declaring the coins, declaring the sanctity should go onto something else, we're not referring to the produce itself, because the produce itself, you cannot, good morning, Jack, you cannot take the produce itself and say, I want the sanctity of the produce to go on to some other, to an animal. It won't work, but it's referring to what? It's referring to the money that was received, that was you used when you redeemed the Ma'aser Sheni onto the coins. You take the money, say, I want the sanctity of the money to go onto the animal. So the money is secondary, is not the original, it's not the fruit. It's something that was received in exchange or something, or as a declaration for the fruit. So too, hachinami demei shviyit. Here also, when the Breita mentioned the value, when the Breita mentioned Shemitah, you could use a declaration. You don't need a sale to place a sanctity on something else. It's not referring to using the Shemitah produce itself, because Shemitah produce, you cannot just merely state, I want the sanctity of the Shemitah produce to go on to the money. The only way what is it referring to? This case is referring to the money that was received as a result of Shemitah produce, that you could go ahead and just merely make a statement, I want the sanctity of this Shemitah money to go on to produce, onto the animal. The animal will now have the sanctity of Shemitah, and the money no longer has the sanctity of Shemitah.
This.
Say it again? If I said the sanctity of this coin that was Shemitah, that was received for Shemitah produce in exchange for I bought Shemitah produce. I want the sanctity of this coin to go onto this animal, right? This coin onto this animal that I have in my house. That works according to the Breita, which would be a proof to Rabbi Yochanan's position, and that would be seems to be the halacha. Okay, first of all, Mazel Tov on finishing this sugya. It was a very long discussion, and by now we have hopefully much more knowledge than we had walking. Now we have just start the Mishnah a little bit, get our feet wet a little bit, and then we'll continue tomorrow. B'Rishonah, in the early days when we had the holy Beit HaMikdash, Hayalulav nital b'Mikdash shivat yamim. The lulav, there was a mitzvah, a biblical mitzvah, to take the lulav. If you would be by the Beit HaMikdash, if you would be by the Mikdash, you have a mitzvah 7 days to take a lulav. There's a biblical mitzvah of a lulav to be taken by the Mikdash for 7 days. If you're not by the Mikdash, there's only 1 day of the holiday of Sukkot that was a biblical mitzvah throughout the whole Jewish world, was the first day of Sukkot. Torah says, "Lakachtem lachem b'yom harishon." The first day of Sukkot was a biblical mitzvah. You lived in Bnei Brak, you weren't by the Mikdash. There's no mitzvah to take it on the second day, third day, lulav. The only day they would take the lulav of Bnei Brak was the first day. But the people who were by the Mikdash, you got a mitzvah of all 7 days by the Mikdash. When the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, Rabbi Yochanan made a decree that even in Bnei Brak, they should go ahead and take the lulav for 7 days. So and that's what's happening today. When we take the lulav today in America, after day 1, we're fulfilling a rabbinic mitzvah. The day 1 is a biblical mitzvah. In Israel, there's only 1 day first day of Yom Tov, so they get a mitzvah min Torah the first day of Yom Tov. We take it both days, but really the biblical mitzvah is the first day, and the rest of Yom Tov we're doing Zeichel Mikdash. We're remembering what they did in the Mikdash. So it's a big deal to remember, what they did in the Mikdash. And then when the Beit HaMikdash, one idea would be that when the Beit HaMikdash will be rebuilt, we already are already trained to remember what they did by the Beit HaMikdash, and we'll continue doing it by the Mikdash. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. Thank you. Mabruk to you, Mr. Haber, as well, for finishing that sugya, that subject of Shemitah. And what's that? I don't know. I see the balloons, but I don't know. Oh. The question was it from yesterday or from today? That's the question.